Hey guys, King of Charmanders here, and today I bring you a video on the best Kushala Bow Driftsmelt build. Daora Sagittarii, the Ice Meta Super Weapon. This video covers the best Driftsmelt build for the Kushala Daora bow. This bow is the most powerful ice weapon in the game, however it is expensive. As I flex me just casually upgrading all the way from 7.5 to maximum power with this video that you see right here, the video recording, but I wanted to flex super hard because it is worthy of that greatness, as again, it is the most powerful ice weapon in the game. Make sure you're applying a grade 10.5 this weapon before drift smelting, so if you aren't going to put it at full power, don't worry about it because here's the disclaimer. Drift smelting is expensive and time consuming. You want this bad boy at full power before you start drift smelting, or if you plan to max it out. First, we're going to start off with the cost to grade 10.5 the Kushala Bow. And here are the materials that it requires for you to max out this powerful ice super weapon. Now here's the thing, do not make this drift smelt build unless you intend on maxing this weapon to grade 10.5. It takes a whole lot of materials as you see per the data, including 25 weapon refining parts and 425,000 Zemi. You will spend a lot of time trying to take out those Kushala Daoras and praying for those rarity 6 drops if you plan on maxing out this weapon. If you have done so, congratulations, you have achieved one of the hardest feats in the game and you are totally worthy and qualified to build this weapon to as far as it can go, which is grade 10.5 max. Personally, it took me over 210 Kushala Daora and doubling my rarity 6 Daora horns to get all the materials needed to max out my Kushala Bow. So again, if you're going to just double rarity 6 materials, it could take you well over 200. Some are much luckier than that. They get it in 150 or less, which I'm super jelly of because that's 60 less Elder Dragons for you to take out in your experience. And from my experience, I had to take out over 200. It was super annoying. But yes, that's the magnitude of what you're going to have to go after if you want to max out the most powerful ice super weapon currently in the game. Speaking of drift smelting, here's how long it took me to get the full drift smelt build for the Kushala Bow. Now here's the thing, this build requires 5 times ice attack drift stones, so we needed cyan drift stones like no tomorrow. This will give you ice attack level 5 total. However, what sucks is your odds of getting ice attack level 5 is 3.3% unless you are using a drift gem. So unless you're getting really lucky, you're probably not going to get it anytime soon. Me, I got super lucky because the very first drift gem I bought, which was a cyan drift gem, it gave me ice attack right away like you saw, you're about to see in the video evidence over here. But yes, drift smelting is extremely painful. People always ding me and they're like, oh, you're a whale, you should stop talking. I'm like, it doesn't matter if I'm a whale or not, it just makes the game go by faster for me. I can't buy any materials, I can buy materials, but I can't buy things like rarity 6 materials, for example. So I can't buy Wyvern Gem Shards, I can't buy Electrodes or Prime Skills as of right now to upgrade my gear. So it takes a whole lot of work before you even think about getting a full drift smelt build. If you are lucky, you are lucky. If you're not, you're not. And that's, again, just because your odds of getting ice attack is 3.3%. That is super low. In fact, here's how many drift stones / drift gems it took for me to get the full drift smelt build for this weapon. My first one was ice attack. So I got ice attack after 28 smelts. It really sucked. And I was like, wow, I'm not going to get ice attack anytime soon. And bam, here it is. Next, for the second ice attack, we had 14 drift smelts. And ironically, I got my second one because the first drift gem I have ever purchased, again, the first drift gem I ever got, I plugged it into my piece of armor and I got ice attack right away. And here's video evidence of it, which is absolutely nuts. So RNG is on my side for now. For the third ice attack, it took me 16 drift smelts. So probably the lowest number you're going to see other than the second one for the rest of these. In addition, for the fourth ice attack, it took me 31 drift smelts. So this is the time where it took me the most drift smelts out of everything else. And last but not least, for the fifth of ice attack, it is going to be 19. So it didn't take very long in between except for my big ones. Like for example, my 4th place and of course 1st place because those are the 2 highest ones. In total, it took me 108 drift smelts, which would be 107 cyan drift stones and 1 Cyan Drift Gem in order for me to max out and complete this full build. It's a lot of work, like you see right here. Those videos aren't lying. No, I'm rolling a whole lot in hopes that I will get what I need, which is Ice Attack at level 1, level 2, or however you want it. I need enough Ice Attack to make this build the strongest it can be. So, if you have the Kushala Bow, rejoice. This build is totally for you, except it's a very, very expensive piece of equipment and very expensive build to create. And now, I bring to you the best Kushala Bow Driftsmelt build. This build Driftsmelts 5 times Ice Attack to get and max out Ice Attack level 5. This build uses Focus level 5 to get to higher charge levels quickly and Spread level 4 at charge level 3, which is 2 blinks. This weapon has a ton of flexibility. Again, you have Spread level 4 at 2 blinks. You also have Pierce level 4 at level 4. So you can flex and use long range as well as close range, which is really cool. It also has Kushala Frostwind level 3, which increases Ice Attack power by 25%. In addition, with Windproof level 3, thanks to the 2 levels from the weapon at grade 8, and Frostwind level 3, it reduces wind pressure effects, making it really useful for Elder Dragon fights or fights with wind pressure and if you are facing an ice elemental weak monster. In addition, you have Part Breaker level 1, which allows for faster part breaks. It's a nice bonus, especially if you use the Black Diablo's bow, and you get it thanks to the Elder Dragon equipment you have over here. Speaking of Elder Dragon equipment, it also gives you Evade Extender level 1 thanks to that piece of gear, which allows you to reposition faster and increases your dodging range. This is very good for getting in and out of range for spread and especially dodging out of those annoying tail attacks if you're up close. And last but not least, Weakness Exploit level 1 is a nice little damage bonus as it increases your affinity by 20% when you're attacking weak spots. Because of the spread and pierce, you're able to target weak spots relatively quickly. Unless it literally has a shell or it has like no weak spots, then it could be a little difficult. But Wex is still definitely welcome and an amazing extra skill to have. To use this build, you need 5 Ice Attack Driftstones on all 5 pieces of equipment. You also need the Kushala Daora bow at grade 10.5 or as high as you can get it. Remember, if you're going to make this build, you want it as high as possible or you plan on maxing it. Well, ideally you plan on maxing it. The Azarathlos helmet at grade 8, the Kushala Daora mail at grade 8, the Kushala Daora vambraces at grade 8, the Kushala Daora coil at grade 8, and the Gyratotus Greaves at grade 8. But what about the data in comparison to other top builds? Well, here we have the best Kushala Bow Driftsmelt build versus the other top builds. Per the data, as you see over here, this build is the strongest out of all the Driftsmelt builds. This is why you don't go after the highest damage one and you look ahead and you research the best build ahead of time. Because the person that was trying to promote the build on the second one, well, they were some random commenter and they're like, but use Odo Garen chest. And I'm like, it's the best. Highest damage doesn't mean the best. Like, do your research ahead of time, and this is why. Because, as you see here, my build is the strongest. You get all those extra skills, and it is the strongest build when you compare it to the auto-optimization of the top 5, and you input that other person's build. So yeah, it's a minuscule difference, but the minuscule difference isn't even when it comes to the damage. It's actually all the skills you get because you're using 3 pieces of the Kushala Daora armor. The only one that comes close is the build that uses the Odo Garen mail for Critical Eye level 2, like I mentioned below. However, it only has Kushala Frostwind level 2, and you should not use it. It's not worth it. If you're going to go after Driftsmelt builds, or future Driftsmelt builds, do a ton of research, and then determine, hey, I'm going to go full on this, because if you're using the best of the best, you should use it. However, look at other factors, not just damage. And this data proves my Driftsmelt build is the best out of the rest you see for the current meta of the game. And lastly, we have the best Kushala Bow Driftsmelt build versus 9-star monsters. So here's a live test with the best Kushala Bow Driftsmelt build. Here we face 2 of the most powerful monsters in the game at 9 stars. Diablos is the hardest non-subspecies monster, and Coral Puke Puke is one of 2 of the most powerful subspecies as of right now. And there's my evidence that I have the full Driftsmelt build. So if you don't have a full Driftsmelt build and you're trying to give advice on the thing, if you're going to give the most effective example, you should probably try it for yourself. Unless it's just something really substandard. As you see here, it's very powerful, and I'm having a great time with Diablos. Even though you have to stay in range a lot in order to do maximum damage, that evade extender is allowing me to get away very quickly, and that Pierce level 4 allows you a lot of flexibility. You will see it more in the next battle when I'm against Coral Puke, not really over here, just because Diablos, when you're facing a Diablos, the best thing to aim at when it comes to Diablos is its wings. If you're trying to get Wyvern Gem Shards, aim for its face. But as you see here, a 9-star Diablos just folds. And it's very, very satisfying to defeat, again, the hardest non-subspecies monster in the game in only 45 seconds. I could have played that a lot better too. However, I actually don't have a lot of practice with the weapon as of right now, but despite that, I am doing a ton of damage. Especially with Coral Puke because the target weak spot is its head, as you see right here. But because I'm sticking so close to it, I'm not really having to worry about its water pressure and its long-range attacks. I can just use that spread level 4 to just blast away its face. And it's absolutely incredible. Again, that evade extender is insanely clutch because it allows me to move around a lot more. And unfortunately, there's some attacks that you can't avoid, like the super ultra water soaker, but this is what we have ultimates for. I could totally dodge it, but you want to maximize your damage. And as you see in this instance, this is where the Pierce level 4 allows you to move outside and just take out monsters from long range, especially when they move out of your range, like with the ultimate super soaker. But despite the fact that I'm not playing, again, I don't have a ton of practice, I'm not playing as optimally as I could. If I had a lot of practice with this weapon, it just does so much damage that it doesn't even really matter. And I could have actually finished off this Coral Puke a lot faster, but I wanted to be fancy to show off, of course, for content. But that just shows you how powerful this weapon is. And at 110 seconds, I take out one of 2 of the most powerful subspecies currently in Monster Hunter now. And that is exactly how I feel whenever I use a Kushala Bow, and just let that spread level 4 go and blast everything to oblivion. Hopefully this full Driftsmelt build serves you well against ice weak monsters. Remember, Driftsmelting is really hard. It can be extremely time consuming and resource heavy, so don't hide your Driftsmelt shards so that people don't see that you're inexperienced. No, those that are truly experienced will know how difficult it is. In fact, I think one of my subscribers, one of my Discord members, they said it in 200 Driftsmelts, they still don't have a full build. So those odds are really low, and 200 without a full Driftsmelt build, but in 200 something, I have 2 of them. Yeah, you gotta be really lucky. So make sure you plan on building the Daora Sagittarii to grade 10.5 max before you consider making this build. Because it's really expensive. As you see all the materials over here, it's really expensive, but that's where you're gonna get maximum power, is when you maximize it at grade 10.5. Please do me a huge favor, like, subscribe, and comment for the YouTube algorithm. Hopefully it doesn't take you as long as I did to get this full build if you're going after it. Good luck on your grinds, and I will see y'all on the next video.